If someone says like, oh, that hit Asian movie, I don't want to hear, I want people to be like, which one?
So my last question is, what does success look like for AAPIs in the industry moving forward?
I think we just, hopefully, it's great. Look at this panel. Everyone here is doing so much interesting stuff. I just think we need more voices, and we just need more representatives from all our different communities doing stuff, because otherwise there's so much pressure on any one story to represent a whole group of people, and that's just impossible. That's never going to happen. So I think we need, obviously, on-screen representation is important, but I think writing, directing, those things are very, very important, because we just need more people telling their stories. If someone says like, oh, that hit Asian movie, I don't want to hear, I want people to be like, which one?
I think in the past, it can often be that somebody does, like Ang Lee, does their small personal project that is ethnic or, represents their family or whatever, where they come from. But then the sign of success is that they're able to assimilate. They're able to then go on to do studio movies that may or may not have anything to do with that personal story that they broke out with. And so what's exciting now is that there is so much more crossover. There is ways to go bigger and still integrate these elements, these nuances, and it doesn't have to be one or the other.
To me, it's seeing what is the next generation. Like, I look at these young, even YouTubers who make feature stuff on their own now. It's like, it's so exciting. They, again, have even less baggage. And so that confidence is going to it's going to not just change what we see, but actual cinema itself.
I remember before Crazy Rich Asians came out, I was so nervous. I was like, I hope this movie does well, because if it doesn't, it's going to be like, I guess people don't want to see Asian people in Hollywood movies, So it's so unfair. I'm glad that, Lulu and John, that your movies were so successful, but it's so unfair that, the pressure that was on those movies was so intense.
For what it's worth, I was a believer. As soon as you had the ab shot,
I'm going to check the tweets. To make sure you were
the ab shot in the trailer. I was like, we're on.
It was such a phenomenon. You guys had it was one of those things where every weekend the numbers wouldn't go down. It was just so exciting, just because selfishly I knew that it was going to mean more opportunities for us.
Yeah. And this is what I learned from that experience of, oh my gosh, is it going to work or not? I had to get over that when we were making the movie. And I think the thing that helped me get over it was thinking bad movies get forgotten. Good movies will get remembered. So for me, I was like, if it works, great. If it doesn't, nobody will ever remember this. It doesn't matter.
Wait, so John, you had the confidence to be like, if this tanks, I won't walk into the next room with that stench on me?
I mean, I had already gone through it with this movie called Gem and the Holograms. And I got torn a new one. And plus, all my movies, I feel like they always get ripped on in from Step Up 2 to Step Up 3 to Justin Bieber. Like, they all get shit on. And so I was sort of built to withstand those things. And I had to find other ways of satisfying my own why I'm making this movie. It was why it was hard to actually accept its success, because I had already decided in my own life that I wasn't going to depend on the critics, and I wasn't going to depend on the box office. I was just going to make the thing, and I was going to focus on my next thing. Only recently am I able to actually sort of recognize it, but I still can't enjoy it because I already made a decision in my life not to let that part give me satisfaction, I guess.
Wow, that sounds very bleak, John.
So just expect failure.
I mean, maybe John is onto something,
Fail fast. It wasn't until I saw this poster image of John Cho starring in all these different movies, I kept saying yeah, that would be he could totally do that. It makes sense. I've made enough money for these studios that I could actually get away with one. I could actually convince them to do one. And what is that thing that I want to do? And that's what sort of took me on my journey to find what was that one that I could push through no matter what. So.
What is the big pushback? So I don't understand the movie business as well as you guys do. You guys have all directed movies, written movies, been in movies. Is the big thing capital or distribution? Where is the kind of big, this is the iceberg, this is the thing that it's really hard to get around?
From my very limited perspective, there are people here who are a lot more experienced than me. I think it's people trying to guess what people want to see rather than making what they think is good. And I feel like we're in an industry where kind of nobody knows what they're doing, so they're trying their best to guess what people might want to see when really, and then that's what happens, right? You could see like suddenly there's a hit movie that was unexpected. Now you see like 10 copies of that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, what it is. Rather than making something that you can be proud of, people are trying to guess what audiences want, which is hard because there's no way to know what audiences want. All you can know is what you want and what you want to see.
So when you're doing the big stick, right? Did you feel it in your gut the way you feel it when you're like, when you had a great set? Or do you know what I mean? Where you're like, this feels right, this feels honest, versus some of the other movies you did?
It's different because with those other movies, it's not really my vision, right? It's not, I don't fully understand. So doing the Marvel movie was an amazing experience. I truly had the best time. And I was in the hands of Chloe Zhao, who's an amazing, amazing filmmaker. I didn't see the movie that she saw, but I trusted her. And I was like, I am in your hands, take me wherever. And I know it's going to be good.
For your files, your X-Files, that's your favorite show, huh? The truth is out there.
With The Big Sick, that was our movie. That was our vision. So the whole time we were making it, we knew that we would like it. We just didn't know if anybody else would like it. But that's really all you could do, is you're the only audience that kind of matter when you're making something, I think.
The difficulty is if they say, oh, well, we don't have any Asian faces that have enough star power to justify a movie this size. And you say, well, there's no maybe Asian Americans with that kind of star power because you never made a movie that put them in a lead position that allowed them to build their star power, you know? And so somebody, and thank God, John, that you did that, because there aren't that many people in the position that you were in who have the ability to say, let me use the clout that I've built and the credit that I've built in the studios to get one for us, you know? And unfortunately, that's why the pressure is there, because when it does well, then all of those stars suddenly become bankable names.
You gonna roll up and be like, bok, bok, bitch. Okay, maybe like not as aggressive.
Yeah, in a way, your movie is kind of patient zero for a lot of other projects. You took all these people who had not gotten a shot to be in a big movie. They're all so talented, and then they can go off, pair off with other people and spread the opportunity around.
I think for me, success moving forward is really fully breaking that scarcity mindset. I think as an actor and someone who grew up in this industry, it's so ingrained in me that there's only one girl that can be, it, and there's only one Asian in a project. And I think that kind of really affected my whole self-worth and self-confidence. And, I'm in my 30s now, and I'm just discovering, my self-worth and what roles I can really kind of take on. So I think the moment I can start to break that kind of scarcity mindset and really collaborate, and that's the whole impetus behind Asian Men Girl Club, was like to be able to really unite and collaborate and not see each other as enemies or that we're in competition with each other, but that we really are going to be stronger together. So much of that, the audition process really started to blend into my real life of feeling like I'm just the sidekick, or I'm not important, my story's not important. And I started to really feel like, oh, well, I have nothing to tell because it's totally worthless. So these kind of stories, I feel, really just empower so many people, and definitely the next generation.
Our community is big enough to fill up a football stadium, but we also all know each other.
This is going to sound kind of dark, but I think it's actually quite empowering when you actually internalize it, and it can be quite liberating. So the showrunner and co-creator of Patriot Act is one of my really close friends, Prashant Venkataramanujam. I just think about me like this kid whose family's from Aligarh, and he's this South Indian kid who grew up in Chicago. And I tell him this all the time. I'm like, they're not looking for us. Like, they're not looking for Hasan Minhaj or Prashant Venkataramanujam. So we got to make this on our own. Even though that sentence is like, it can be a negative thing, it's actually quite empowering, because then we just have to make all the swings ourselves. I told a story on The Moth, which became Homecoming King, which opened up a lot of doors for me and made Netflix really interested in seeing Patriot Act. But to be honest, like, we just brought in that immigrant hustle mentality. Me and Prashant, we put up the bag ourselves. We shot the proof of concept. We showed it to Netflix, and we came in the same way our parents came in. If you're not going to let us in through the door, we're coming in through the window. We're coming through the back. We're just going to make it happen, because ain't nobody looking for Prashant Venkataramanujan, but I'm gonna look out for him, you know? And the only way I really think we're going to make it is to make choices that where we have agency. We're not asking, we're just doing it. We're playing offense. And that to me is the choice that I would rather operate from. I'm not waiting for like a casting notice or anything like that. And that's just me speaking from experience.
When Muslim refugees try to come in for safety, he just turns into a nightclub bouncer. He's like, oh, sorry, fellas, we hit our cap on Muslims.
Earlier, John, you were saying something about carving paths, and I got this image of sort of, we're like on this mountain that's completely like an island that's completely brand new, and there are no existing paths, and then a few people carve out a couple paths, and then you maybe walk that path and carve out a trail from there, and then you carve out another trail. And so I think that's what the future is like. It's like this island that has a few paths and a few trails, but you want to get narrower paths, and you want to be able to go higher, and you want to go in every direction, down to the lake, down to the river. There's no one way to do it, and we don't always have to walk the same exact path, but that these paths lead to newer paths.
好多了，好多了，好多了，再来点气儿。
I have the easiest job here. I'm a director. I just gather all the most talented people. And so when I see you guys, you're craftsmen. You have studied your craft. You have molded it. You have trained. You have gone up in front of audiences and failed and won and all those things. And for me, like, that is what everyone who feels powerless, like, the thing you can do is make your craft better. They cannot deny better craftsmanship. And so when we were casting, it was very clear that everyone had worked on their craft. So everyone out there who feels they don't know how to get in, look at these people. They did it because they just kept getting better with or without permission to do it. And then they attracted the people to come to them, not try to get a job getting into something.
That was a master class.
I know.
I charge $19.99 a month for that. You can go to my Instagram Live now, and I'll continue.
This was such a great conversation. I'm glad to get all of you in this room.
Hey, you have an intruder, Lulu. Lock your door.
Look at how he thinks if he walks that way, nobody will see him.
Yeah, it's like if he doesn't look at us, then we can't look at him.
Thank you all so much for doing this. Didn't realize how influential John Cho was to everybody in their career.
He's the connector.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You know, he used to work hard at my gym too. He's a very handsome man.
He really is.
Yeah, sure.